Part 1. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 1. On the calm sea, a warship that had been altered drifted aimlessly in the wind. The Navy logo and number are all painted with a large A. This is the group of pirates who have recently appeared on the seas with a slight reputation. Arthur's Pirates. Arthur Alexander is currently the name of the captain of this warship. Initially, it became famous for robbing a warship. There are only 2 members on the entire ship, but it is an existence that many pirates and navies dare not provoke easily. That's because of the Navy's encirclement and suppression more than half a month ago, and in the face of the strength displayed by more than a dozen warships, it was completely listed as one of the targets that could not be easily provoked. On the deck of the warship, a figure stood in the wind, in his 20s, the sea breeze was blowing slowly, and the black broken hair was fluttering in the wind, revealing a handsome face with sword eyebrows and starry eyes. As far as the eye can see, there are 2 boat shadows chasing after each other. The sound of artillery fire was also faintly heard from time to time. I see them every day, and they're really not tired. Looking at the 2 shadows of the ship that gradually disappeared on the horizon, Arthur shook his head, and there was some helplessness in his tone. On this sea, the battle between the Navy and pirates has never stopped, and it is not known when it will end. It's almost a month. It's a bit boring like this. Arthur looked up slightly, looked at the clouds fluttering in the sky, and sighed in his heart. In the endless sea, there are no entertainment facilities, and only the softness of waking up in the morning can soothe his somewhat boring mind. Captain, aren't you satisfied with Rita by your side? The hatch opened, and Rita, dressed in a black silk-made outfit, walked out with a complete set of tea sets. With a light step, he placed the tea set on the table in the middle of the deck, and turned around, with a smile on the corner of his mouth that seemed to heal everything under his burgundy pupils. Rita Lothweiser, the first Valkyrie summoned by Arthur when he came to this world, combines beauty and intelligence. You're there. Naturally, it is very satisfying. Looking at Rita in front of him, the corners of Arthur's mouth couldn't help but hook slightly, and he opened his arms as he walked over. As their eyes drew closer, Rita suddenly showed a mischievous smile and looked down and slipped under Arthur's armpit. Captain, please taste Rita's jasmine tea. Looking at Arthur, who was still in the posture of opening his arms, the smile in Rita's tone became a little stronger. You're such an abrasive little goblin. Sharon sat on the stool in front of him, glanced at Rita in front of him, picked up the teacup on the table next to him, and sniffed it on the tip of his nose. The tea fragrance is fresh and refreshing. Raised her eyebrows slightly and glanced at Rita, who was looking forward to her face, blew lightly, took a sip, and suddenly her face changed. This startled Rita on the other side. What's the matter, Captain, is this tea unappetizing? Rita hurriedly took 2 steps forward to Arthur with a somewhat anxious look on her face. Arthur looked up. The corners of his mouth hooked up a smile of conspiracy, and he stretched out his hand. The nervousness in Rita's eyes when she saw the scene disappeared, a little amused and helpless. Captain, it's not okay to immerse yourself in the gentle countryside every day, you have to grow up to be a man who is in charge of himself. Rita reached out her index finger and tapped the tip of Arthur's nose lightly. I'm not interested in fighting and killing, and it's my pursuit to do it at sunrise and sunset like this every day. Arthur shrugged, and Rita smiled with an unambitious look. Captain, there's a lot going on the sea lately, you know. Are you talking about the recruitment of the Lox pirates? Facing Rita's gaze, the expression on Arthur's face gradually retracted. He had also heard about this matter, and it was very noisy. Lox has gathered many pirates with some chance to make a fortune. Yes, Captain, it is said that the gathering is full of famous people on the sea, and I am afraid that you will soon be found, Captain. Speaking of this, Rita's eyes narrowed slightly. As for Lox, Although Rita has not seen it, she only hears rumors and knows that this is an extremely conceited person. For a combat force like Arthur, it will never be overlooked. And Rita is also very clear about her character as a captain. It is absolutely impossible to be subservient. I'm afraid something interesting will happen then. Hey Rita, what's the deal with your playful smile? He, Captain, so you have to be a man in charge of your own affairs, so that whatever happens can be easily solved. Looking at Arthur's somewhat frightened gaze, Rita smiled, holding the face in front of her with both hands, and the dragonfly nodded her head slightly. Captain, it looks like we have guests coming. After saying that, Rita stood next to Arthur and put away the charm on her face. The expression on her face was calm and indifferent. It's really CAO is here. On the right-hand side, a huge galleon was approaching, several times larger than the warship at Arthur's feet. The pirate flag fluttering above signifies the identity of the comber. Rocks pirates. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, return captain. Chapter 2. A month ago, Arthur arrived in the world of pirates with the Honkai system. Get a newbie gift package at the beginning, and have the perfect mate in Arthur's heart. Rita Lothweiser. According to the system, if you get along with Valkyrie, you can automatically get friendship points every day. Friendship points can be used to resupply. New Valkyries, weapons, and stigmata can all be obtained through friendship supplies. But it's a pity that after this month's time, there have been 10 consecutive lottery supplies. Although she got some gadgets, the Valkyrie she wanted the most was only a few fragments. But the lottery is still very user-friendly, and there is a guarantee mechanism. 100 supplies will lead to a new Valkyrie. Although the road is long, there is always a day to reach the end, so Arthur is not particularly in a hurry. What's more, Rita's skills are very good, and it is also a good choice to live in a two-person world. As the master of the system, Arthur can get an ability corresponding to it every time he obtains a Valkyrie. For example, the ability obtained by summoning Rita, Ice. But there is a prerequisite for attaining competence. That is, the Valkyrie level must be at the highest level. Fortunately, as soon as Rita appeared, weapons, stigmata and levels were all at the highest. This gave Arthur a certain foothold in this chaotic sea. In fact, Arthur prefers the ability of fire. Because the mocha is hot, and Arthur has to be careful every time, lest a trace of cold air leak out and wipe out the little heat that he has managed to generate. But there will always be times when the scenery is bad. But it doesn't matter, as a hard-working old reed ox, Arthur has been working diligently. In the midst of the sea, a boat as a means of transportation is indispensable. So Arthur hijacked a ship of the Navy by the way. It has to be said that compared to the sailing ships of the pirates, the ships of the Navy are much stronger. It was at this time that Arthur and Rita came into the sights of the Navy. A pirate sails the sea in a Navy ship, which is nothing short of blatant contempt. The Navy headquarters immediately dispatched warships to encircle and suppress it. Faced with a dozen warships surrounding them, Arthur showed the world what he was capable of. The boiling sea solidifies into ice, and the water molecules in the air can be transformed into spears piercing the chest with the wave of a hand. These ordinary navies were no match for Arthur at all. The Navy suffered heavy losses in that battle and hurriedly retreated. It can be expected that when there is no relative certainty, the Navy headquarters should not easily send the Navy to death. And this calm also lasted for half a month. During this time, Arthur gained a deeper understanding of the sea. A person's name is like the sun in the sky, radiating a strong light. Lox. This is a man with absolute strength and great ambition. On the sea, the warship had ceased sailing, and Rita and Arthur stood side by side, staring ahead. The huge galleon of the Rocks pirates approached and eventually came to a halt a few meters away. Ha ha ha, Arthur Alexander, Joining our rocks pirates will surely reward you with unimaginable sumptuousness. At the front of the deck, Locks crossed his arms, and behind his massive body, a black cloak hunted. He looked down with a strong momentum. There are a lot of pirates behind him, and everyone seems to be a difficult existence to provoke. Among them, Arthur found a few familiar figures, such as Kaido, Charlotte Lingling, the two future four emperors, and the Golden Lion Chiji. After a glance, I didn't find Whitebeard, so I guess he hadn't gotten on the boat yet. Is he Arthur? Charlotte Lingling is still a beauty, with a bumpy figure, looking at Arthur with her eyes and muttering to herself with a meaningful look. Then he glanced at the vicious pirates next to him, and moved forward half a step in disgust. Arthur's eyes were finally fixed on Locks, and it seemed that the ship's crew would be gathered soon. The sea is bound to make huge waves because of the entry of the Rocks pirates. Huge rewards. I'm sorry, I didn't think much about it. Arthur spread his hands and shook his head regretfully. Will you join the Rocks pirates in burning and looting? Arthur really didn't have the slightest interest in that. For the pie painted by Locks, Arthur still followed his own nature. He knew what he wanted. There are still so many Valkyries waiting for him, isn't it fragrant to accompany them? Hearing Arthur's unequivocal refusal, the expression on Rock's face gradually converged. If nothing else, I'll go first, and I wish you all the best of luck. Rita sails. In the end, Arthur's tone returned to calm, and a trace of chill permeated his body. Okay, Captain. Rita nodded and stepped into the cabin. Locks looked at the departing warship, and the momentum around him slowly dissipated. No one in this world has yet been able to refuse my invitation, Arthur Alexander, and you will join us. Locke's tone was full of affirmation. I've heard that there is a pirate named Edward who is also quite powerful. A faint voice echoed, and Locks had already decided on his next target. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 3. Late at night. Lying on the bed, Rita opened her big bright eyes, carefully removed the arm on her shoulder, and quietly dressed herself. Standing on the edge of the bed and looking at Arthur, who was still asleep, showed a warm smile. He gently stroked the man's face, then turned and opened the door and walked out. The white pajamas changed the moment they stepped out of the door. The whole body is white armored, the top is a black lace bandeau top, the bottom is a short black skirt with white edges, two stockings are white and blue, the left leg has armor on the knee, and the socks are black. The ice-colored thorn headdress and the blue and white metal wings on her left arm make Rita feel like she is not approached. Blue Knight, Moon Soul. Combat armor that only Rita wears when she is serious. A figure like a white god of death stood on the deck, and the moonlight in the sky was a little eclipsed in the face of this figure. Smack. The crisp snapping fingers gently echoed. The space next to Rita rippled layer by layer, and a Titan mecha more than 2 meters tall emerged. Titan mecha, cutting-edge type MR-01 Titan. This was previously obtained from friendship replenishment. Although the combat effectiveness is relatively low, it is more than enough as a means of transportation. The cockpit door opened, and Rita jumped inside. The dim eyes of the Titan mecha flashed a red light, and the engine behind it started, and a dark blue flame burst into the sky. Disappear into the night. And at the same time, on a small island not far away. The whole island is not huge, but it is more than enough as a temporary resting place. A huge sailboat is docked on the shore, and a bonfire is lit on the beach, reflecting the world. Dozens of pirates gathered around a campfire, chatting happily with each other, and the wine glasses in their hands were filled again after drinking. It's very lively. They are none other than the Rocks pirates. Tons and tons, bang. Locke sat cross-legged on the ground, holding a large barrel in both hands, and after drinking it all in one gulp, he put it firmly at his feet with a dull sound. That Edward didn't find it today, and Arthur turned down my invitation, it's unlucky. Touching a handful of the wine that flowed from the corner of his mouth, Locke was rarely a little depressed. This is the first time Locke has encountered such obstacles. Usually he invites people to solve it in just a few words, but this time, the whole day has not been fruitful. Every time he thought of Arthur refusing his invitation, Locke felt a sense of unease in his heart. Now that Locke has gathered more than half of the pirates with quite high bounties, to be honest, one more Arthur and one less Arthur don't affect him much. It's just that I've been going smoothly, but I was suddenly mixed up, and I felt a little nervous. Captain Locke, that Arthur seems to be a very strong man too, did you just let him go so easily? Next to her, Charlotte Lingling drank all the wine in her hand, with a little amusement on her face. For Arthur, Charlotte Lingling still has a good impression at the moment. After all, the looks of the companions around him are really flattering. Not joining us is his loss. Locke waved his hand and didn't care, picked up the barrel full next to him, tilted his head, and drank it again. Oh, that's a shame. Charlotte Lingling's expression was a little lost, but she didn't force it. For them, strong strength and power are the eternal pursuit. As for the rest, it's just some spice of life. The bonfire lasted until late at night, and everyone was almost drunk, and they lay drowsy on the beach. Suddenly, a slight fluctuation in the distant sky made Locke wake up instantly. The closed eyes opened suddenly, the lying posture bounced up instantly, a gleam flashed in the eyes, and the momentum on the body was like a torrent, violently emanating out. Locke's movement was loud, waking up the surrounding pirates. The previous decadence and casualness were swept away, and he glanced around vigilantly, showing his super quality. After a while, feeling the source of the fluctuation, dozens of people looked in the same direction, and the momentum on their bodies gradually recovered, gathered together, and rose to the sky. The huge momentum is like an abyss demon opening its hideous mouth, making people not even have the courage to get close. But a light in the distance gradually approached, and finally stayed in the sky above the island and slowly fell. Looking at the unfamiliar Titan mecha in front of them, everyone looked at each other, not knowing why. Nothing like this has ever been seen between them at all. Click. With a soft sound, the cockpit opened, and Rita's figure appeared in front of everyone. It turned out to be you. What's the matter? Could it be that Arthur changed his mind and came here to surrender? Although it was a little late, if he was sincere, it was not impossible to consider it. Locke stepped forward and looked at the changes in Rita in front of him, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. The momentum on this woman's body was completely different from what she had seen during the day, as if there were two people. Gentle and indifferent. Two feelings that are opposed to each other appear in the same person, and they are perfectly integrated. In order not to keep you from bothering the captain, please forgive Rita for being rude. Rita's slender figure stood on the Titan mecha, her gaze swept over everyone in front of her, and she bowed slightly politely. When he raised his head, a crimson light flashed in his pupils, and his body jumped up. In the sky, the bright moonlight sprinkled down, reflecting a slender figure. The huge scythe raised in both hands exuded an icy luster, and a huge humanoid phantom gradually emerged behind him. The weather at night was already cold, but at this moment, it was like a prison of extreme cold. The moon soul symbolizes the terrifying side of the moon, spreading the cold of the extinct creatures across the earth like moonlight, bringing despair to all things. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 4. Early morning. The sun rises from the horizon, and a beam of sunlight shines through the glass on the two people next to each other. Captain, I woke up very early today. When Rita opened her eyes, She couldn't help but smile when she saw Arthur looking at her with a smile. Raise your right hand lightly and run it down your cheek. Rita, where did you go last night? Ah, Captain, do you know? I'm sorry to wake you up. The back and forth didn't waste much time, and it had been restored to its original state, but I didn't expect to be discovered by Arthur, so I had to tell me about last night's events. You went to find the Rocks pirates alone. Hearing this, Arthur was taken aback and quickly sat up. Are there any injuries? Hurriedly checked inside and out in detail, and found that Rita was not hurt at all, so she was relieved, and the expression on her face was a little reproachful. Don't do such a dangerous act again, you know. Nodding Rita's eyebrows, Arthur instructed earnestly. Although Rita's strength is very strong, the strength of everyone in the Rocks pirates is not blown. In a one-on-one situation, Arthur was not worried at all, but in the face of the entire Rocks pirates, even Rita could not escape with his whole body. He, Captain, are you worried about me? Rita tilted her head slightly, reached out to smooth Arthur's frowning brow, smiled and continued. Rita used to just say hello and show us the power we have, so that we don't have trouble in the future. Last night, Rita naturally didn't really fight with the Rocks pirates. He just sent a full blow and then retreated. Sometimes if you want to have an equal dialogue, you have to show what you are capable of. Arthur's current battle for fame was only half a month ago when he faced those dozen warships. This kind of strength is not very remarkable in the Rocks pirates, which are full of strong people. However, the strength that Rita showed yesterday was matched by only a few people in the entire Rocks pirates. In this way, if they want to trouble Arthur again, they have to think about one or two. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Arthur shook his head, a thoughtful look in his eyes. The strong strength you have can naturally avoid some unnecessary troubles, but at the same time, it will also attract the attention of the strong. And what Locks needs at the moment is a strong man. Knowing Rita's true power, I'm afraid the interest will be even stronger. And things were just as Arthur imagined. Was provoked by someone else to come to the door, Locks was not angry, but became more and more excited. Captain, did Rita do something wrong? Rita lowered her head and looked at the globe in front of her that was divided into two halves, looking a little aggrieved. It's okay Rita, the soldiers are coming, the water is coming, and the Rocks pirates are not monolithic. Arthur said as he patted the globe lightly and stood up, stretching hard. The captain is still so energetic. Rita stared ahead, the corners of her mouth slightly hooked, and her gaze was watery. An hour later, the sun was completely out of the horizon, and Arthur and Rita stepped out of the cabin. It's refreshing to breathe in the fresh morning air, just with the smell of the sea. Arthur moved his whole body and looked sideways at Rita next to him. It's like the smell of Rita, and the faint fishy smell makes you want to take 2 more breaths. I'm sick of it, Captain. Even Rita was a little overwhelmed at the moment, and 2 blushes appeared on her cheeks and she whispered. Captain, Rita is going to prepare breakfast, since she likes the smell of fish so much, let's make a whole fish feast, but don't leave a little left. With that, Rita opened the hatch and walked back inside. In the restaurant. Rita, you really don't smell at all. The fishy smell that surrounds the tip of his nose, it seems that the 5 dishes in front of him have not been eaten, and Arthur feels full. Isn't this what you like, Captain? So I deliberately kept the fishy smell and asked the captain to taste it slowly. Rita said as she brought out a plate of delicate side dishes from the kitchen and put it in front of her. A faint fragrance came, and then I looked at the 5 dishes in front of me, and suddenly the sense of gap came out. Rita, you've learned badly, and Captain Ben is a little upset. He, okay Captain, I won't mess with you, just add a dose of seasoning to neutralize the fishy smell. Rita smiled like a fox as she spoke, shaking the vial in her hand. A breakfast was spent safely in the event of a thrill. A day later. Captain, we're going to get some supplies, the food on the ship is only enough for 3 days, and there's a small island ahead. Rita looked at Arthur, who was lying on the deck, sunbathing comfortably, and reported some of the situation on the ship. So what are you waiting for? Let's go. It's been a long time since I've been standing on land. With a wave of his hand, Arthur headed for the island in front of him. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, return captain. Chapter 5. Hachinos. It's a small island where many pirates gather. In the port on the shore, countless pirate ships came and went, and the arrival of a warship in the distance made the originally orderly team become a little chaotic. There's a navy coming, wait, it's the Arthur pirates. The pirates, who were a little closer, saw the warship in the distance and just wanted to be on guard, but when they got closer, they couldn't help but exclaim in surprise when they saw the traces of the altered outer layer. On this sea, only the Arthurian pirates, who have recently become famous, sail a warship. Very recognizable. This slowed the expressions of the surrounding pirates a little. However, when they saw this warship, all the pirates had a strange look in their eyes. Pirates have their own pirate ships and flags, which is like a person's name, and as pirates they are very strict about them. Only Arthur didn't care about this, saving time and effort and directly robbing a warship as his means of transportation, and did not draw a pirate flag. Such an approach would not be accepted by either the Navy or the pirates. It's just rumored that Arthur's strength makes the pirates dare not act rashly. Eyes were cast around him. Arthur, who was standing on the deck, glanced around, and these eyes retreated. But the glances that came from time to time made Arthur feel more than just a little funny. Captain, these people don't seem to have a good impression of us. Rita's beautiful eyes swept slightly, narrowed slightly, and raised her right hand to tidy up the messy hair around her ear. At this moment, Rita was like the sun, and her whole body was radiating light. The pirates were stunned. I guess I just don't have a good impression of me right now, Arthur said as he grabbed Rita's waist and glared back defiantly at each other, declaring his sovereignty. And Rita is also very submissive, and the little bird leans on Arthur's arm, with a happy smile on the corner of her mouth. Passing through pirate ships and anchoring safely on the shore, Arthur jumped off the deck, Rita following close behind. This down-to-earth feeling is really the best. Stepping on the solid earth, Arthur let out a sigh of emotion from his heart. Captain, you obviously said that 48 hands feel the best, it seems that half of them haven't been tried, Rita is looking forward to it. Rita tapped her index finger lightly to her lips and looked up slightly as if thinking about something. This innocent expression and the words that come out really make people want to be bullied. Then when you have the chance, I'll try the rest. The whispers in her ears faded away, and looking at Arthur's back, Rita followed with her steps. In less than 5 minutes, the coastline, which had just returned to calm, was once again in shock. It's the rocks pirates. A muffled, almost suffocated sound squeezed out of the throat of a pirate. All the pirates stopped their movements and looked in the same direction. A huge sailing ship crushed from a distance like a fortress. The beast-like hull of the desolate caused all the pirate ships to flee into the distance. If you are one step late, you will definitely become the residue of the sea. Ha ha ha, these miscellaneous people, hurry up and get out of the way for Uncle Ben. Rox, who stood at the bow of the ship, laughed and was full of spirit. But the surrounding pirates did not refute in the slightest, and Lisso made way of a wide road. This makes the lonely warships docked on the shore very conspicuous. Did that guy come to this island too? The laughter stopped, and Locke squeezed each other's hands, knuckles rattling, and the corners of his mouth cracked slightly with an excited smile. Arthur, and the maid, have met again so soon. Charlotte Lingling leaned on the side of the boat, her eyes narrowed slightly, and that intense cold glow appeared in her mind. The last time that mate attacked us, then this time we don't have to be polite. At this time, Kaido was far from being powerful when he became the Four Emperors, but the momentum exuded by his body was still impossible to ignore. Shiji, who had blonde hair next to him, was silent, but from the look in his eyes, he was afraid that he would not be good after encountering it. Behind him, there were many pirates eager to try, clamoring to give Arthur a little color. At this moment, if Arthur's combat power is against all the members of the Rocks Pirates, I am afraid that he will not get any benefits. Let's go, little ones, this time it's time to settle things together. With a wave of his hand, Locks landed on the island in unison. I originally came here because I heard that Edward Newgate was here, but I didn't expect to have an unexpected gain. And at the same time, in the headquarters of the Navy. Carp, Sengoku, Tsuru, you have a new mission. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 6. On the calm sea, more than 20 warships fanned forward, and their destination was the island where Arthur and the Rocks Pirates had landed earlier. At the very front of the warship, 3 figures stood side by side. 2 men and 1 woman. They are Carp, Sengoku, and Tsuru. The performance of these 3 in the Navy was eye-catching, so they were specially asked to lead the team to command this mission. I really didn't expect that we would be asked to exterminate the pirates. This time we have to perform well and strive to become a major general as soon as possible. Now Carp still looks like a young man, with a sturdy build and excitement on his face. Originally, such a mission would be led by at least a major general or lieutenant general. And this time it was given carte blanche to the 3 of them, and this was the trust in them, or the test. It is conceivable that if they can successfully complete the task, their achievements will definitely add to the thick mark again. Carp, don't be too happy, remember that we are commanders this time. The crane looked indifferent, and even looked a little dignified. In the position of commander, it is no longer as simple as thinking about things. The entire fleet, the life of the Navy, they are responsible. That's right, Carp, don't be impulsive then, we're dealing with a whole bunch of pirates. To be honest, there is absolutely no chance of winning with the naval hard work we bring to the table. Sengoku holds a nautical chart in his hand and his eyes are fixed on an island. Hachi knows. This island is home to the surrounding pirates, and the Navy has long wanted to clean it up. It's just that this time it happened to be in passing. Don't forget what we're really trying to do. The crane looked ahead, where the outline of an island gradually emerged. I naturally know that the Arthur pirates actually robbed a warship and ran rampant on the sea, so bold is just what I like. Seeing that Carp still had an overexcited look on his face, Tsuru and Sengoku both shook their heads helplessly. Come, tell me about my plans this time. Sengoku put the chart on the table next to him, pointed to Hachino's and continued. Compared to the pirates, we have the advantage of surprise and sufficient ammunition, so we must further expand our advantage. My plan is. Sengoku not only has great strength, but is also extremely good at strategy. And every time you can achieve twice the result with half the effort, so even Carp listened very seriously. Hachinos. Although there are many pirates here, the order on the island is not particularly chaotic. Captain, these supplies are enough for a month, so it should be about the same. In the midst of the crowd, Arthur and Rita walk side by side, each holding a large package in the arms of the 2 Titan mechs next to them. The poor Titan mecha has become a servant here. In fact, it is okay to put it directly into the system space, but there are always those pirates who are not long-sighted and want to find trouble. To deal with these little minions, it would be overkill to let Rita take action, so Arthur released 2 Titan mechs as guards. With these 2 big guys present, the pirates, who were still a little eager to try, immediately dismissed the idea, which made their shopping trip much smoother. By the way, he also let the Titan take what he bought, which caused the current situation. Enough is enough, but since you're on the island, let's take a spin. At this, Arthur suddenly stopped, his brow slightly raised. White beard. Now the beard is not white, and I really don't recognize it at once. The figure that flashed into the bar in the distance just now, if Arthur was not mistaken, should be Whitebeard. That is, Edward Newgate, whom Lox is looking for. Captain, did you find anything? Seeing Arthur standing motionless in place, with a searching look in his eyes, Rita asked softly. It's nothing, forget it, I don't want to get involved with them anyway. Arthur shook his head, he didn't care much about whether Whitebeard joined the Rocks Pirates. Even if people from all over the world join the Rocks Pirates, as long as they don't provoke him, it doesn't matter. It's the Rocks Pirates. Lox. The one next to her is Charlotte Lingling, she is really a beauty, and it is said that her abilities are also extremely terrifying. Although Kaido next to him is an intern, his strength is much stronger than that of ordinary people. There are even giant clans, and sure enough, there are many strong people, and they are terrifying. I'm still more Silver Axe, domineering enough. It's the first time I've seen all the members of the Rocks Pirates, not ordinary pirates can match, it would be nice if I could join them. An exclamation of surprise came from a distance, causing Arthur and Rita to turn to look. Boom! The powerful momentum greeted him, making Arthur's eyes narrow slightly. Those who come are not good at. Please do not leave any comments about bunny girl or other yin and yang weird words in the comment section that affect the author's mentality and the mood of other readers. Such remarks will be deleted when you see them, plus a small black house. Thank you for your cooperation. At the same time. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, return captain. Chapter 7. Lox took a step forward, and the mighty overlord rose into the sky. Boom! The invisible but powerful power spreads outward like a wave. This is. The eyes of the surrounding pirates widened, and they suddenly felt as if they had been hit hard, and their heads instantly became blank, and they collapsed to the ground one by one. Bang bang bang. The sound of bodies hitting the ground rang out one after another. Humph, a bunch of waste, can't withstand the slightest impact. Locke's attitude towards the pirates who did not identify was not very friendly, he glanced at it, snorted coldly, and his eyes fell on Arthur. The gift you gave us 2 days ago was very generous, and my people couldn't wait. Lox grinned and didn't say anything more as a pirate rushed out behind him. Brush. A huge body, armed with a machete, with a hideous smile on his face. Arthur didn't know the person who came, but he also knew that the Rocks Pirates were only in the middle of the platoon at best. Because the pirates on the top floor are all famous one by one, Arthur still knows a little about it. Come on, let's fight one-on-one and enjoy the baptism of blood. The hideous smile and the terrifying tone did have a strong power for ordinary pirates, but unfortunately. Captain. Just as Rita was about to make a move, Arthur reached out and shook his head, raising his right hand slightly. The space in front of him rippled layer by layer, and a huge body emerged. Gaia Mecha, Standard Type MR-011 Gaia. It is Arthur's strongest Titan at the moment, and there is only one. Compared to the 2 cutting-edge models next to it, the standard model replaces the original hands of the Titan armor with a heavy mechanical arm. At the expense of the Titan series mobility, it was staggeringly destructive, but it also increased fuel consumption, making it impossible for the Gaia to sustain a long combat endurance. But it is enough to face the current situation. Is that what you're capable of? Summon these strange creatures. The pirates who rushed straight towards faced the Titan who suddenly appeared in front of them, and there was no hesitation in their eyes, but their speed was a little faster. Thunder blast. The long knife in his hand was gradually raised, and the thunder and lightning surrounded the knife mountain, and then slashed down. Boom! An arm-thick bolt of lightning descended from the sky along the long knife. This kind of strength is only at the mid-level level in the Rocks Pirates. The immobile Titan, his black pupils lit up red. Poof! A cloud of white mist erupted from all over his body, and the energy was instantly activated at this moment. Hands raised, and a blue energy shield appeared in front of him. Although the defense was built, the condensed lightning suddenly exploded, enveloping the Titan's entire body. This is the second stage of the move, and it is also a killing move, which is extremely powerful. Hey, turn to ashes under my thunder and lightning. Seeing the huge thunderbolt flickering in front of him, the pirate smiled smugly and turned to return to the group. Click. A soft sound made his body freeze instantly. Bang. The thunder group exploded in all directions, and the Titan mechs came in a charging stance. The original brand new surface had some burns due to lightning. It's good to come. I really underestimated you just now. Originally it was only 7 points of strength, but now it's 10. Holding the knife in both hands, the thunder and lightning condensed again, and it looked a little more violent than before. The people of the Rocks Pirates watched the play one by one, and they had no intention of helping at all. The fists and knives collided again as everyone watched. Bang! A dull sound was heard, and a powerful force was transmitted forward through the long knife. How is that possible? The pirates, surrounded by thunder and lightning, had disbelief in their eyes. The body flew upside down like a kite with a broken string, slammed to the ground, and slid backwards for several meters. Before, the Titan was only a passive defense, so naturally it did not give full play to the advantage of its own strength, but now at this distance of the charge, the strength has been condensed to the peak. In a simple competition of strength, the pirate is naturally a little worse. Moreover, the Titan's own material also has a strong defense against thunder and lightning, which invisibly weakens his attack even more, which causes the effect of one-hit killing. For this loser, the people of the Rocks Pirates did not pay attention, and looked at the Titan mechas standing in front of them with surprised eyes one by one. I don't know how it compares to my strength. Next to him, Kaido walked out, without any fancy, raised his fist and blasted towards the Titan. It's like Mount Tai pressing the top, and the fists collide. Bang! The Dao shockwave spread outward, and the Titan, known for its strength, did not gain the upper hand at this moment. Hee, it's pretty sturdy. Kaido grinned and threw 3 punches in quick succession. Bang bang bang. Each time he became more powerful than ever, and finally pushed the Titan bombardment back in front of Arthur. It's Kaido. In order not to let his Titan be scrapped, Arthur's eyes narrowed, and the cold air around his body burst out. Click, click, click. A layer of ice spreads outward from beneath your feet. Faced with Arthur's unknowing strength, Kaido temporarily avoided the edge and retreated. With a wave of Arthur's right hand, the 3 Titans next to him all disappeared and were placed in the system warehouse. In the face of opponents of this level, the current Titans are no longer of much use. It's noisy. Do you want people to drink quietly? At this moment, a figure walked out of the tavern not far away. This book has a bit of a Honkai theme, and I don't know if anyone won't read it because of this. After all, I believe everyone knows about the previous events. Hate the House and the Black. If no one sees the book, it is inevitable, and many similar comments were deleted in half a day. I'm so tired. Ask for a wave of data to support it here, knowing that someone is chasing, so that there will be no worries and more motivation. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 8. Inside the tavern, many pirates gather in 2s and 3s, bragging to each other about their experiences in the sea. Bang! The door opened, and a large figure slowly entered. With the appearance of this figure, the voice in the tavern was obviously much lowered. "Who is this man?" A pirate muttered quietly, and the wine glass in his hand unconsciously rested on the table. "You don't even know him." "One of the men who has recently made a name for himself on the seas, second only to the presence of Locks, Edward Newgate." "What? He's the Edward?" Halfway through speaking, looking at the approaching figure, he couldn't spit out any sound. "Boss, come to the barrel of wine." Edward ignored the people around him and sat down in an empty seat. The voice was soft, but it was overwhelming everyone's breath. "Here it is, a barrel of wine." The shopkeeper carefully carried a barrel of wine over. Although there were many pirates coming and going in his tavern, like Edward's, the faint aura exuded from his body made people not even have the courage to look at each other. This kind of pirate is also rare. Before he could put down the barrel, Edward took it, raised his head and drank it tons. Hiccup cool. Having drunk the entire barrel in one gulp, Edward exhaled comfortably. However, at this moment, a powerful momentum swept from outside. Brush. The powerful power of the Overlord color made all the pirates in the tavern collapse to the ground one by one without the slightest struggle. Only Edward's seated body remained straight. With his eyes swept around, he got up from his seat, opened the door and walked out very unhappily. "It's noisy, do you want people to drink quietly?" Edward had seen the situation as he spoke. Naturally, he knew about the Rocks pirates, and to be honest, he was still very interested in what they were hiring. So who is worthy of the Rocks pirates? Edward's gaze fell on Arthur. He wasn't too impressed with this young man, he probably hadn't seen it before. "You're Edward Newgate." The search for Edward was the reason Locks came to the island. "That's right, that's me." Edward's hand cut to the next and replied very dryly. "Very well, then let me test if you have what it takes to be our crew." Locks burst out in an instant after speaking. "Ha ha ha, I've wanted to fight the Rocks pirates for a long time." The conjuring cut in his hand rotated clockwise in front of him, setting off a strong wind, and then slashed forward. Bang! I don't know how much stronger it was before the two collided with each other. Brush! The shock wave spread outward with the two of them as the center, and the surrounding houses gradually disappeared, clearing a large open space. "We can't just sit on the sidelines." Shiki's gaze fell back on Arthur, and his body slowly levitated. Shiki is a fluttering fruit capable of levitating any inanimate object he touches. As an ability, he is the only living form that can harness the fruit's abilities. "I'm here to help, too." Kaido, who had retreated, stood up again. Don't look at Kaido's rough appearance, but his mind is delicate. Kaido has not obtained the devil fruit at this time. Before, a person didn't dare to fight Arthur, after all, there was a Riton next to him, but now with Shiki, there is no worry. "Oh yes, that's right next to the show." Charlotte Lingling stood nonchalantly in place, with no intention of helping. "Now it's a 2-on-2 situation. Rita, you go deal with Shiki, be careful." "Okay, Captain." Rita, who was standing quietly next to her, heard Arthur's words, and her eyes lifted slightly, falling on Shiki. One step out, armor appeared all around the body, covering the body. Black armor with two blue and black edges, a long white skirt, suspender stockings, blue and black high heels, and a shadow iron scythe Gene Reaper. Hunter outfit shadow iron. It's different from last time. When Shiki saw Rita's outfit, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he was a little unsure, and tentatively launched an attack. The body floats lightly, and the right hand caresses a large stone. Brush! The boulder slammed into Rita under Shiki's manipulation. Brush brush brush! Bang! A faint blue light flashed, and a large stone with a radius of 5 meters was cut into pieces. In the midst of these fragments, Rita's figure rushed out like a sturdy cheetah. "Let's not disturb the captain." A smile tugged at the corner of Rita's mouth, and next to her, the self-disciplined tracking weapon carbon-based hunter condensed, like a sharp arrow, and rushed towards Shiki. Below, Arthur looked at Kaido opposite, the corners of his mouth slightly hooked. At this time, although Kaido is very strong, he only relies on his own quality, and without the blessing of Devil Fruit ability, he doesn't know how far he can go. Arthur was quite interested in knowing this. With his right hand clenched, the cold aura condensed into a large ice hammer, and looked at Kaido on the opposite side, revealing a dangerous light. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 9. Bang bang bang. An explosion erupted from the center of the island, attracting all the pirates in the harbor. It must be the Rocks pirates. Something like this happened as soon as they came to the island. I'd love to go in and have a look. Come on, I guess it's been affected before I see it, and our little bodies can't stand it. While all the pirates were chatting, the silhouettes of warships gradually emerged in the distance. Whoa! One after another, the shells let out a sharp whistling and fell from the sky in a parabola. Boom, boom. A series of explosions rang out in the group of pirate ships. It's the Navy. Damn, it's so close to us. Fight back immediately. Why did the Navy stop? It's cunning, and it's going to bring us to our knees with firepower. The pirates had just organized a counterattack when they found warships in the distance lined up and stopped. Bang bang bang. Shells were fired from the warship in succession, forming a dense network of fire. In the face of such an attack, the pirates had no choice but to dodge. If you want to attack, I am afraid that the warship will be smashed into the sea by cannonballs before it can get close. I didn't expect the pirates to have infighting. Sengoku put down the binoculars in his hand with a look of joy on his face. The vibration from the center of the island, they could faintly feel it from such a distance, which showed how fierce the battle was. But the more intense the fight, the better, so that they can reap the benefits of the fishermen. These pirates are really vulnerable, and they are already so panicked after a few rounds of shells. In the face of such an enemy, Carp couldn't raise the slightest interest, and looked lazily ahead. All warships keep the output moving slowly. Sengoku gave the order again, and more than 20 warships slowly moved forward. As time progressed, the intensity of the artillery fire increased, which made the pirates miserable. Although there are many pirates, if they can't do it, they will be scattered after all. It is expected that it is only a matter of time before these pirates in the port are defeated. At the same time, in the center of the island, the three-way battle is also heating up. "Hey, Edward, I like you very much," he said. In the center of the most violent battle, Lox looked at Edward in front of him and showed a hearty smile. After this period of fighting, Lox understood that Edward in front of him was indeed not in vain. The strength is top-notch. Just the members of their Rocks Pirates need. Now I invite you to join our Rocks Pirates. The momentum on his body was restricted, and Lox looked at Edward in front of him and sent out an invitation. "Okay, I'll follow you around." Edward did not refuse Lox's invitation, and readily agreed. That's what he thought in the first place. This made the corners of Lox's mouth slowly hook. The frustration he had received from Arthur was now gone. And on the other side, Arthur's battle with Kaido. Kaido is very strong, there is no doubt about it, but in the face of Arthur's amazing ice ability, he can't even touch the corners of his clothes. "Kaido, is this all your strength?" Watching Kaido rush again, a wall of ice rising in front of him. Bang! The ice shards scattered, but Arthur's figure had already changed positions, which made Kaido choke on anger. It's like this again and again. Don't hide if you have the ability, face me head on. Kaido was also angry. This Arthur was like a carp when he went into the water, and he couldn't slip his hands. Head to head, hee, okay, you're going to catch it? Arthur said, his right hand raised high. The cold air in the sky quickly condensed, and an ice hockey ball changed from small to large. What is this? All the pirates looked up at the puck that was gradually taking up their pupils, and their eyes showed a look of horror. In the sky, a giant ice hockey ball occupies a third of the island, hovering. Seeing this, Rita and Shiki's battle immediately stopped and returned to the formation of both sides. Kaido, didn't you say you were going to face it head on? Looking at Kaido's gradually ugly face, Arthur waved his hand gently. The huge ice ball in the sky that was stationary fell rapidly. The huge wind pressure caused the buildings below to be crushed to pieces, and the center of the target was Kaido. And at the same time, in the port of the island, the pirates have been suppressed by the navy, and they are defeated in the next second. What do you see in the center of the island? Carp saw the pucks in the center of the island gradually getting bigger. Is there still such a powerful devil fruit ability on the island? Sengoku frowned, and in this way, they added a lot of changes to their navy's operations. A person with a powerful devil fruit ability can be worth thousands of troops. Boom! A dull sound rang out from the center of the island, and at the same time, a powerful shockwave spread throughout the island. Wherever the shockwave passed, everything turned to powder. The pirates who were struggling in the harbor were unlucky, and they were attacked on both sides in an instant. The powerful shockwave swept out directly, causing their bodies to soar into the air, and before they could react to what was going on, they fell into the sea one after another. Does anyone see it? If not, forget it. Total ship collapse, reject rocks at the start. Author, Return Captain. Chapter 10. I'm afraid we'll have to report this matter to the Navy headquarters. Carp muttered to himself as he saw the island in front of him. Originally, the buildings on the island were lined up one after another, but now they are bare. With such a powerful devil fruit ability, I haven't heard anything before. Tsuru's brow furrowed. The power of the devil fruit ability, they are well aware. An island was razed to the ground under a single blow, and such strength is probably close to the level of an admiral. The three of them are not at that level at the moment. What should I do? Do you want to call for reinforcements? At this time, Sengoku also ran out of ideas for a while. Stratagem is just icing on the cake, and it is useless in the face of absolute power. Wouldn't it be shameless for us to call for reinforcements? Carp rolled his eyes, a look of resistance. Someone seems to have come out. Tsuru, who had been staring at the center of the island, saw a black shadow emerge and hurriedly said, "All the Navy is on emergency alert." According to the original plan, it was gradually moved from the periphery to the interior, and now the port has not yet landed, but the entire island has been razed to the ground. At a distance of tens of meters, more than 20 warships stopped at the same time, and all the navies looked ahead at the same time. In the center of the island, in the midst of the sand and dust, a large black shadow gradually emerged. It's the Rocks pirates, and they're on this island. Tsuru's expression became very solemn. They have also heard of the Rocks pirates, and they have gathered powerful pirates in the sea area. A single existence is a very difficult existence for the Navy, and now that it is gathered together, the destructive power produced is unimaginable. Two of them appeared to be injured. Sengoku noticed the anomaly for the first time, and his eyes were fixed on Shiki and Kaido with a look of surprise. Compared to Kaido, Shiki's appearance is not so embarrassing, but the blood-soaked clothes on his arms can't be hidden. His face twitched from time to time, and it was clear that this wound, which did not seem to be very serious, had caused him unbearable damage. This is because of Rita's scythe-type combat weapon called Gene Reaper. As long as you get a little genetic sample of the target in battle, you can decipher all the opponent's biological data and change the tactical pattern of the armor at the same time. What's even more dangerous is that this weapon will also deploy a toxin avalanche according to the target's genetic sequence to disintegrate the enemy's flesh and blood. Don't look at the only small wound on his arm. In fact, Shiki's body has already exploded, and it is not something that can be recovered in a short time. In contrast, Kaido's appearance is embarrassing, and it is just a skin injury. The people in the Navy are really haunted. Locks is angry now. The second invitation to Arthur was rejected again, which made him want to vent hard. Prepare for everyone with the Overlord color. Hearing Locke's words, the pirates behind him looked at the Navy not far in front of him, without the slightest fear on his face. A few people with the domineering color of the Overlord even came to the side of Locke's, lined up. What are they going to do? All the navies are ready to fight. There are only a few people in the face, but it makes the warring states like a great enemy. One cannon after another brushed at rocks. Huh! A sneer of disdain came from his mouth. Boom! The Overlord color in everyone's body rose to the sky and spread outward. At this moment, the sky gradually became dark clouds due to the influence of the Overlord color. Purple thunderbolts flashed across the sky, making the area feel like hell on earth. Overlord color, domineering. In the first wave, more than 20 warships and thousands of people fell in an instant. The few remaining people are only struggling to support themselves. As the Rocks pirates approached, the few people who were struggling to support them also fell one by one, and in the end, only 3 people were able to stay awake. Damn, Rocks pirates! At this time, Carp couldn't help it and strode forward, but was stopped by Sengoku. Don't be impulsive, facing the entire members of the Rocks pirates, the strength of just the 3 of us is not enough. Do you just watch them leave? Carp's forehead throbbed, but he still stopped. The main thing now is to bring back those unconscious navies. Yes, Carp, the navy on the warship has no power to resist now, and it would be dangerous to encounter pirates. Listening to Sengoku and Tsuru's words, Carp suppressed the anger churning in his heart. Humph, even if I'm alone when I get back, I'm going to give these pirates a little color. At this time, on the side of the island, Arthur and Rita stood side by side. It's spectacular, Overlord domineering. To be honest, Arthur was still very envious. Captain, they're leaving. Every one of the Rocks pirates got on board one after another, and then they didn't pay any attention to the navy next to them and gradually moved away. It's time for us to get out of here. Watching the Rocks pirates gradually move away, Arthur knew that the sea would probably be even more chaotic. Let's go. Glancing at Carp, Sengoku, and Tsuru on the warship, Arthur smiled. I'm afraid there will be many opportunities to contact them in the future.